ZipRecruiter, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard about it, so I'm just going to read it to you. It's a must-have. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates, okay? ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why our ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. One more time to try it for free, to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. It's something you need to know. Because right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A.
Jody Avirgan here. I'm glad you're enjoying 30 for 30 podcast, part of a special collection of sports audio documentaries from ESPN Films. We're finding the best sports stories for you right now. And to do that, we're behind the wheel of the Mini Countryman, the biggest mini yet.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
To find great sports stories, you have to get out into the world and follow your instincts. That's where the Mini Countryman's all-wheel drive comes in handy. With all four, we can chase down a story in the city, the country, and most places in between. Podcast equipment isn't very bulky, but even if we're hauling a lot of gear, there's plenty of cargo space for all your stuff. And if a few of our producers tag along, no problem. The Mini Countryman comfortably seats 5 adults. The Countryman may be big, but it still drives like a Mini thanks to the twin-power turbo engine. No matter what story you're chasing, the Mini Countryman will help you find it. It's available now, and so are 30 for 30 podcasts. Visit miniusa.com/countryman today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Cut the damn music. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN in LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Got a lot of NFL stuff to get into. Of course, a little bit of NBA as well. I'm in Philadelphia. Cleveland Cavaliers will be playing the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will be going up against LeBron James and the crew. Can't wait for that. Obviously, a lot of football stuff to get into. The Jets blowing the game against the Carolina Panthers yesterday. The Los Angeles Rams are legitimizing themselves more and more every week. And, of course, the Chargers in a position to possibly win the AFC West. A whole bunch of stuff. Steelers winning last night, even though the game was tougher than it should have been. Tom Brady getting beat up by Miami, even though he routed them. Philadelphia Eagles still looking like the best team in football. A whole bunch of stuff to get into, and I intend to. But you're going to have to forgive me because I got something on my mind. I got something on my mind because I don't know whether to be furious and ticked off and just leave it at that, or to allow the level of depression to overtake me as it pertains to how much as a society we have regressed. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about the United States of America, and obviously we don't need to get political here. But we talk about the United States of America, and we talk about this country being the greatest country on God's green earth. We talk about the rights that we have as American citizens. We talk about innocence until proven guilty. We talk about all of these things that we lean on and hold on to for dear life because it makes our country what we are. It's why people are willing to go through everything from jungles to shark-infested waters, to go through all of these things and beyond just to come over to this nation. It's why you've got folks out there talking about building a wall to keep folks out because so many people want to come to the United States of America. It's about what we stand for. It's about what we're supposed to be about. And without getting too deep into the weeds, waxing poetically about our nation and what we stand for and what have you, let me bring it back directly to where it should be in the sports world today. And that is what is the travesty, the miscarriage of justice that took place at the University of Tennessee this past weekend. Greg Schiano, former coach at Rutgers. Did a decent job there, by the way. Took the worst program arguably in America and made it a competitor for a national championship at one point for one season. That same Greg Schiano, who didn't do a good job at Tampa Bay. That same Greg Schiano who I've met just one time, I don't know him from a can of paint. That same Greg Schiano has been railroaded. He's been screwed over. He's received a raw deal. And as far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen, anybody with any core decency in their heart should feel just as ticked off and riled up as I am this morning. This is a disgrace. A flat-out disgrace. And I'm not on these airwaves, on this particular show, talking about Greg Schiano, the great football coach that's being robbed. I don't know what kind of damn job he would have done at Tennessee. I don't know whether he would have been just as good, if not better, than Phil, than Philma, the former coach, or anybody else. I don't know whether he would have stunk at the job. I have no clue. But for this man to miss out, to have the University of Tennessee essentially renege, not essentially, but literally renege on an agreed deal for him to be the head coach because of some proposed involvement in a whole Jerry Sandusky child molestation scandal, it's beyond the pale. It's beyond the pale. And anybody who isn't sick to their stomach over what has happened to this man, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to say something over these airwaves right here on ESPN Radio that I have never said about anybody in my career. I might have called for somebody to be fired because, damn it, their results just weren't great. Or their actions were so egregious, you know what, you had to make that decision. But I was never happy about it. But I want to state for the record, any fan, any of those sorry, no good protesters, anybody associated with Tennessee who directly had something to do with reneging on the promise that this man would be the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, pox on all your damn houses. I hope all of y'all lose your jobs. I don't give a damn if you're a construction worker. You work at the post office. You're an administration official. You're the president. I don't give a damn who it is. Whoever had something to do with this man losing out on this job, whoever instigated this mob scene that took place in Tennessee, let me tell y'all something right now. Pox on all your damn houses. I hope whatever job you have, you get fired. I hope nothing but misery comes your way. I hope the same kind of misery that you probably have caused this man in his life happens to you. This is a disgrace. Now, let me get specific, okay? For those of you who don't know what happened and exactly what transpired. Greg Schiano was a Penn State assistant from 1990 to 1995. Okay? If y'all recall, Jerry Sandusky, who was convicted in 2012 of 45 counts of child molestation. If ever there was an individual that deserved to be thrown under the damn cell with a bunch of sodomites, it's him. Well, what he did to kids. According to some former assistant coach, Mike McQueary, okay? Because I'm just giving you the story here. Mike McQueary gave testimony during a deposition. I believe it was a court deposition from 2015 with a former graduate assistant. He wasn't even an assistant coach. He was a graduate assistant. said he admitted he walked in on Sandusky and a boy in a shower. And he accused Schiano of seeing something similar because apparently a former assistant coach, Tom Bradley, had told him so. Greg Schiano has emphatically denied it. Said he knew nothing of such a thing. Matter of fact, was quoted weeks later, if not days later, saying if he had seen something like that, he would have put Sandusky through a wall. Bradley, the former assistant, confirmed he didn't see anything either, and he didn't tell McQuarrie that Schiano had seen anything. So what you have is McQuarrie, the graduate assistant, intimating that Schiano knew of at least one action by Jerry Sandusky, one act, and even he got that second hand. He didn't see it directly. He didn't hear from Schiano directly. Somebody told him that Schiano said something to them. Schiano denies it. The person who supposedly told McQuarrie that, and Mr. Bradley, he denied it. And that's all you have. Schiano has been vetted by Tampa. He's the defensive coordinator at Ohio State under the great Urban Meyer. He's been vetted. You've got Bill Belichick, the head coach for the New England Patriots, whose son played for Schiano at Rutgers. He said he would vouch for his character 100%. You have nothing on this man. And there's a mob scene on the campus of the University of Tennessee with people plastering posters up accusing Schiano of hiding child rape, covering up child rape. How could you do that to this man? How could you do that to any human being? No evidence whatsoever. You don't want Schiano as your coach. You don't want him as your coach. That's fair. But to use Jerry Sandusky's reign of terror as a child molester, to associate Schiano's name with that, based on nothing more than hearsay, it's criminal. It is so wrong on so many levels. It should make you want to cry. You know, there's a player that used to play at Rutgers once. His name is Eric LeGrand. Remember what happened to him? Remember in 2010, I believe it was, when he got paralyzed from a hit on a football field after making a tackle in 2010? Paralyzed from the shoulders down. You know, there's this article out there where it's talking about how Schiano drove an hour away every day to see the kid, to be by his bedside, to help him the best way he could, to make sure that this kid had the best of everything. It's in a Rutgers University newspaper, I believe. And it's talking about how LeGrand just gets reduced to tears thinking about how much of a father figure Greg Schiano has been to him. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? All of that ain't even necessary. As beautiful as that story is, as great as it makes Greg Schiano look, as decent at his core as it is evident that he is, it ain't even necessary. There's no human being that this should happen to. There's no excuse for this. You don't want him to be the coach of your football program, use football reasons to justify it. But for a mere accusation that has never been corroborated, has never been confirmed, for him to lose out on a job because his name is associated with child molestation, him being accused of covering up the actions of Jerry Sandusky, to use that to keep this man from getting a job. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I've lost faith. This is one of those moments where I've lost faith in some people in this country. And damn it, dare I say the human race. That's all it takes to sit here and accuse this man with no evidence whatsoever of this, and to have his name associated with this, just to keep him from getting a football job. And they got away with it because of Tennessee's weak, pathetic selves. Those fans who were protesting, those officials who caved. Pox on all your damn houses. I wish you nothing but misery. 866-729-ESPN. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio on its way in a minute.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
It really, really stinks to the high heavens. And, you know, a little bit later on in the show, I have no doubt that my man Carlton in Tampa will call in because he always does. And he's a phenomenal caller. But the thing about it is that it speaks to just the overreactions. I mean, we are living in an age where you don't have to have any proof. You can just sit up there and accuse somebody of anything with no evidence whatsoever and ruin their opportunities. Ruin them. That is not what we're supposed to be about. Greg Schiano did not deserve this. I don't know the man from a can of paint. There's absolutely positively zero evidence that has been displayed or conveyed that remotely attaches itself to his guilt. He's been vetted by Ohio State. He was vetted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the National Football League. He was at Rutgers for 11 years. And whenever you hear anybody say anything to him, clearly made mistakes in Tampa, a bit too rigid, a bit too strict, to some degree a bit too predictable at times, etc., etc., no one has questioned his character. No one. How could you do that to this man? How could you have this man's name associated with child molestation? Coming at him like he tried to cover it up. What evidence do you have? When I talked about Penn State deserving the death penalty, that's when Joe Paterno was alive. Joe Paterno was running the program. And there was ample evidence that he had been contacted, that he was made aware of Sandusky's actions, and he was concerned about his football program. Sandusky was retired and still allowed to have an office, literally serving as using Penn State's football program to serve as a recruiting tool for him to get closer to kids. There has been no such evidence whatsoever about Greg Schiano, who has emphatically denied any knowledge. Sandusky was doing this since 1976. Schiano arrived from 90 to 95. This is a travesty. It's a travesty. Elon, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Thanks. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. Just to piggyback on what you said, this guy's got multiple jobs since then after the testimony. And this is also the same guy that drafted Eric LeGrand when he coached for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I also played high school ball. This guy would have Rutgers donate a ton of old, weightlifting equipment to a lot of high schools. I've never once heard a bad thing about Greg Schiano on this side of the space, that's for sure.
You know what? You know what the problem with it, Elon? I don't care about that. The fact of the matter is, I don't give a damn if he wasn't the nicest person. I don't give a damn if he wasn't the most charitable person. Because it's all subjective. Nice to one person is phony to another. We don't know. The point is, the man has done nothing to be associated with child molestation. You're not accusing this man of not being a good coach. They're accusing this man of hiding child molestation. And Tennessee caved in. It's a disgrace. Any football coach worth his salt out there shouldn't even be thinking about going to Tennessee. What a weak administration. No evidence. None. Appreciate the call. Stephen, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Today. I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate your passion and in everything that you address, no matter what the issue is. I do appreciate it. I'm going to tell you that I'm a Tennessee fan. And I would say that, granted, the man has not been proven to have any issues with this child molestation case or whatever the case might be. And I understand he's had numerous jobs. He's at a good job right now, blah, blah, blah. But what I would say, and all the stuff that I read even yesterday, is that when the man was given an opportunity to get on the witness stand under oath and talk about what he didn't see, he did not take that opportunity. And for me, that's a red flag. Or, to take it even a step further, if the people who said that they saw you see a certain thing that they didn't see you see.
Well, wait, stop right there. That's not what happened. That's not what happened, Stephen. The fact is, you had Coach McQuarrie say that he was told Greg Schiano knew. He was told because the person, in other words, the person that spoke to the graduate assistant, Mike McQuarrie, said that Greg Schiano told him. That person later came out and said, McQuarrie's not telling the truth. I didn't tell McQuarrie any such thing. And Schiano said that's a flat-out lie.
I would say put me under oath so I can prove my innocence. What
innocence? Prove what? Because the fact of the matter is he wasn't being called under oath. What was he being called under oath for?
To refute the allegation, Stephen A. To say, look, I got nothing to do with this. I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. But when given the opportunity, he did not do that. That's a red flag for me.
He stated it publicly. He stated it publicly. He stated, listen, think about this for a second here. What does he have to say? How are you going to prove that he knew something? I mean, think about it. Listen, if this man committed a crime, if there was emails, voicemails, or something like that, I get where you're coming from. But you have a graduate assistant saying an assistant coach told him something, and you have Greg Schiano and told him that Greg Schiano knew something that Greg Schiano was swearing he didn't know, and that assistant coach saying, I never told him any such thing. And there's always tentacles that come to this story. Because once Jerry Sandusky has been indicted and ultimately convicted, and then you've got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, you got a lot of people that don't want to get involved in that, Stephen, because they're thinking about their careers. I got nothing to do with this. I ain't trying to be involved in this in any capacity. It wasn't like he was subpoenaed and didn't show up. Because if he was subpoenaed, he'd have to show up. These are the kind of things we got to think about. 866-729-3776. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
We'll continue with these calls in regards to Greg Schiano, but I also wanted to applaud I want to say congratulations to the city of Los Angeles. You definitely got one playoff team. You might have two. Because not only are the Los Angeles Rams flat out balling, and even though the jury is still out in my mind for Jared Goff, I can't ignore what I've been seeing. This brother can play. He's got a damn good arm. He's making the necessary throws. He's going through his progressions, and the Sammy Watkins of the world and everybody else. They've got an arsenal in St. Louis. Their defense is big time. You saw what they did to Drew Brees yesterday. Kamara had a big run, but other than that, he had 4 carries for 13 yards the rest of the way, and Ingram didn't do but so much. Michael Thomas was held in check. Drew Brees was held in check. You look at the Los Angeles Rams right now, they're incredibly impressive. I tell you what it ensures. It ensures that Jeff Fisher will never get another head coaching job again. Because when you see the difference between the job he did and the job Sean McVay is doing, it's night and day. Look at how Jared Goff looks now compared to how he looked last year under Jeff Fisher. And you really, really, really don't need any more evidence than that. On the flip side, you look in the AFC conference, and we thought that the San Diego Chargers were dead. Anthony Lynn's doing a hell of a job with them. They got a shot to win the AFC West. And maybe they could fill some seats at the StubHub spot, but you got a veteran quarterback in Phillip Rivers. You got Gordon who can run the football for you. You got Keenan Allen, who looks like a second coming to Jerry Rice over the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if y'all have noticed or not, but this kid, Joey Bosa, special. They're getting after the quarterback. San Diego Chargers. Something to look forward to. Wish I could say the same about the Kansas City Chiefs. Lost another game yesterday. But I just don't feel that way. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give it to you straight. I've never been sold on Alex Smith. I've considered him a game manner, relatively pedestrian. I know he's completing better than 68% of his passes. He's got 19 touchdown passes in 11 games. He's a damn good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I just don't believe in him. Not when it counts. He's not the guy that's going to get you over the hump. He just ain't that guy. And I know my man Carlton's about to get on me because Patrick Mahomes is a rookie. And maybe I should have learned my lesson because the Bills tried that with Tyrod Taylor and all of this other stuff. Light a fire under Alex Smith. I'm not saying replace him for the rest of the season or something, but do something to rattle him. I mean, I'm sick and tired of him being pedestrian. Take a chance. Be productive. I mean, I just, whether it's Tyreek Hill, it's Kareem Hunt, whomever. I mean, Kelsey and these. Look, I know the defense is the bigger problem. They ain't been the same since Eric Berry's been out. Can't get at the quarterback. I got it. I understand. Alex Smith is not the problem. There are other problems that Andy Reid has in Kansas City. I'm just not sold. Just like with Pittsburgh last night. Yeah, they won the game. Okay. But I didn't see anything that tells me they're going to beat Tom Brady. Antonio Brown's a bad brother. You got Martavis Bryant. You got Le'Veon Bell. You got Jesse James. You got Eli Rogers. You got it's Juju Smith-Schuster didn't even play last night. And still the Steelers are loaded. But somehow, some way, you just sit up there and say this is going to come down to Brady versus Big Ben Roethlisberger. And you need to see greatness from Roethlisberger. Him being good ain't good enough. He's got to be great, and he's got to want to be great. Because it's going to come down to him. That's just how I feel about it. It's just how I feel about it. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. To your calls in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
I reminisce. Ow. To the phones we go. Back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's go to Carlton in Tampa. I knew I'd hear from him today. Good morning, good afternoon, Carlton. How are you?
I'm well, but I worry about you, Stephen A. I don't know whether Max has infected you or whether now that you're 50 years old, you've got early onset dementia. 10 days ago, you and Max were both arguing that the Buffalo Bills needed to replace Tyrod Taylor with Nathan Peterman, and we all saw how that worked out, 5 interceptions in the first half. Today on your program, you and Max are arguing that the Kansas City Chiefs should replace Alex Smith with Patrick Mahomes. Let me tell you, Alex Smith has the second highest passer rating in the NFL this year, behind only Tom Brady. He has the second highest TD to interception ratio in the NFL this year.
That's because he hardly throws either. That's because he hardly throws either. 19 touchdowns
and completion ratio in the NFL behind Drew Brees.
Listen. We all have our own philosophies. Let's if we're gonna tell a story, Carlton, let's tell it right. What I said was, when the Bills decided to bench Tyrod Taylor, I knew nothing about Peterman whatsoever. What I did know is that players and folks from the organization were questioning Tyrod Taylor, going through his progressions, et cetera, holding the ball too long. More importantly, they knew that he wasn't their quarterback for the future. They had no intentions of keeping him. So you try it out. Fine. But it was a disaster. In this particular instance, what I'm saying is light a fire under Alex Smith. This dude came out like gangbusters for the first couple of games this year. They tailed off after, I believe it was like a 5-0 start. I'm looking at them right now, and I'm just saying to myself, you got losses to Pittsburgh, Oakland, Dallas, the Giants, and the Bills. And I'm looking at it from the perspective that even though Alex Smith has decent numbers, because he always does, in the end, you know that with him, you're going to the playoffs and you're going home.
Look, Stephen A., Peterman had a 54% completion ratio in the preseason, and you and Max were saying he had a good preseason. So I don't know what you guys were looking at when you were
No, I didn't say that. I said that's what they were trying to say about him. These are the kind of things that they were saying to each other, and they were saying to the local media members. I didn't know a damn thing about Peterman, and I made that very clear.
Who you call check down Alex has the 7th highest yards per pass attempt this year in the NFL. Who you lamented only has 19 touchdowns this year. Well, that's 7th highest in the NFL this year. Only one behind your big favorite there, Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers, who are only one touchdown ahead of him. He saw 19 TDs and 4 interceptions, and you want to replace the guy in the middle of a playoff run? Are you out of your mind, Stephen A?
Listen, they're 6-5. I think they're going in the wrong direction. I think they need a spark. I don't give a damn if you bring the dude in for the first quarter, see what he's got. You certainly don't owe Alex Smith anything. You've paid him handsomely. He hasn't gotten you anywhere but to one playoff victory. I mean, the fact of the matter is that he's a damn good quarterback. Nobody's denying that, but he's not that guy that could take you to the next level. I don't see any problems, Carlton. I can understand your argument if I'm saying bench him, put Mahomes in, don't look back, forget all of that. He's sorry. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you kind of need a spark, man. You gotta take that into consideration. It matters.
I just think that, you just don't change when he stumbles a little bit. He's had two bad games. He had 3 really good games in those 5 losses. It's just that the other team outplayed them, outplayed the team. And so you just don't, when you're in first place in the West, when you're in the midst of a playoff run, you don't swap out a known commodity, a known good commodity, for a complete unknown. You just don't do it. I think that what's-his-face should be fired in Buffalo if they don't make the playoffs after putting Peterman in and choking up a game in the midst of a playoff run.
Okay, all right. You feel that way, and we're going to have to respectfully disagree on this one, Carlton, because I wouldn't mind taking a chance. Even if it's just for a quarter or a half, I got to see what somebody else could give me because I know what I'm getting from Alex Smith. I just know.
Yeah, first place in the West. That's what you're getting.
You've lost 5 of your last 6. You've lost 5 of your last 6 games. That doesn't matter to you?
But you still got your whole destiny. You control your destiny. You continue to win. You make the playoffs.
I understand that. You've lost 5 of your last 6. Why not try something? What's wrong with that? Let me ask you a question. If Alex Smith is this stud that you swear he is in your own way, Carlton, what's the matter with him sitting down for a quarter or a half?
I'll tell
He
you
ain't going to
what.
be able to recover? He's not going to be. He's that soft that he's not going to be able to recover?
You didn't learn your lesson from Buffalo when you shoved the new guy in there? He throws
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Tyrod Taylor and what happened to him actually proved my point. Because he came back in the next week, and what did he do? He won.
What happens if they miss the playoffs by one game, Stephen, when they gave away a game?
Then come talk to me then. Because last time I checked, listen, the Kansas City Chiefs have one victory since October 8th. Alex Smith played every game. That's the way I'm going. I got to go.
When they were 5-0. He played all those games when they were 5-0.
Right then, I wasn't calling for him to be benched. I wasn't calling for him to be benched then.
Second highest passer rating in the NFL, Stephen A. through 11 games. Second highest.
Colton, we disagree on this one, my brother. We disagree.
I just worry about you. I think you need to get a check.
I'm worried. Hold on. Was I worried about you when you found every reason under the sun to condemn Bill Belichick at every turn? No.
I got to figure out his latest cheating scandal. There's
God.
On.
Take it easy, Colton.
Fumbling up.
Take it easy, Colton. Colton is relentless, man, but I love him. I really, really do. 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Mike in Denver. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Mike.
What's happening with you, man?
Talk to me.
Want to talk about the guy,
Greg Schiano.
Greg Schiano. Worst thing in the world, man. How do you take food off a man's table behind something like that? Unheard of. They need to be. Yeah, that's a shame, Stephen A.
No proof. No proof whatsoever. And listen, it ain't like you accused a man of robbing a deli or something. I mean, this is child molestation. Child molestation. No proof whatsoever. They got posters hanging out outside. He tried to cover it up. It's shameful, man. It's shameful.
Terrible, man. I felt bad for the man, and I hope he get another opportunity to get another head coaching job, But it was just disgraceful, man. But I got to run, man. Nice having you on,
bro. Always, man. We'll talk. Let's go to Jeremiah. What's going on, man? How are you? Talk to me.
Hey, man. How's it going? All
right.
Talk about the Saints game yesterday against the Rams.
Yeah.
Basically, my whole outtake of it is that Drew Brees, I don't think he's done. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You got the best pound-for-pound, 210 running back in the backfield right now. That got you.
Wait a minute. You ain't about to blame this. You ain't about to blame yesterday's loss on Drew Brees, are you?
No. About to blame yesterday's loss on the coaching staff, Sean Payton.
Because
of the fact that you right now, what's been your recipe for winning is what you went away from yesterday in prime time when you could have had the ball, control the clock, because both of your starting cornerbacks are out of the game. Not blaming the Saints defense. Of course, the Saints defense actually did an good job outside of not having two starting cornerbacks.
That's fair. That's fair, but I don't think you listen. Other than the 74-yard by Kamara, he had 4 carries for 13 yards. Mark Ingram had 11 carries for 31 yards. You could tell during the game that running the football was going to be something difficult for them to do. And as a result of that, I don't know if I can knock Sean Payton in this particular game for that. They got out-muscled. They got roughed up a little bit by the Rams, who played tough. And they got some personnel on the defensive side of the ball led by Aaron Donald that's just big time, no doubt about that. But yesterday was just a bad game. But I don't think their running game was that stout, and I think we need to remember that. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 up next. Continue talking about all the NFL action that took place yesterday. Of course, tonight's game in Philadelphia with the Cavs visiting. And, of course, Derrick Rose and what's really going on with him. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
ZipRecruiter, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard about it, so I'm just going to read it to you. It's a must-have. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. So you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates, okay? ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why our ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. It finds them. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. One more time to try for free to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A. It's something you need to know. Because right now my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Stephen A.
Jody Avirgan here. I'm glad you're enjoying 30 for 30 podcast, part of a special collection of sports audio documentaries from ESPN Films. We're finding the best sports stories for you right now. And to do that, we're behind the wheel of the Mini Countryman, the biggest mini yet.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
To find great sports stories, you have to get out into the world and follow your instincts. That's where the Mini Countryman's all-wheel drive comes in handy. With all four, we can chase down a story in the city, the country, and most places in between. Podcast equipment isn't very bulky, but even if we're hauling a lot of gear, there's plenty of cargo space for all your stuff. And if a few of our producers tag along, no problem. The Mini Countryman comfortably seats 5 adults. The Countryman may be big, but it still drives like a Mini thanks to the twin-powered turbo engine. No matter what story you're chasing, the Mini Countryman will help you find it. It's available now, and so are 30 for 30 podcasts. Visit miniusa.com/countryman today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here with you for the next hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. Number to call up as always is 866-SAY-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. On the line with us right now was a guy who used to be my boy. We were pretty tight, you know. He's like a protege, youngster, even though he's bigger and stronger. Better athlete, obviously, Super Bowl champion. Pittsburgh Steelers, used to play for the Washington Redskins for some inexplicable reason. Now doing a great job as an NFL analyst. And then he came on the air this morning on First Take and just completely betrayed me by calling me a old fuddy-duddy. I think that was the word that he called me, an old fuddy-duddy, and said that Max Kellerman, with his corny self, all right, was more cool than me. It is, the blasphemy that came out of Ryan Clark's mouth, ladies and gentlemen, was criminal, but it's all right. Ryan Clark is with us right now. What's up, man? What's up, man?
Hey. So, how they prep you for the segment. So they talking to, they telling me who's going to go first. And he's like, you're going to be surprised what Max says and what Stephen A. says. I was like, I know Stephen A. not about to come on here and be an old fuddy-duddy. And sure enough, man, you let Max out-cool you, man. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, please. Look, man, you don't mind these dudes celebrating because the subject matter we were talking about was these damn celebrations now that the NFL has lifted their prohibition against celebrations. But my attitude is this. I got, first of all, some of them are corny, which is always the case. But the other side to it is that I'm seeing guys celebrating even when they lose. That's my problem.
Well, listen, you don't know how the game's going to end, and you don't know if your touchdown brought you back close enough to where your team has an opportunity to win. Let these guys have fun, Stephen A. Some of them are corny, I'll admit. Some of them aren't that great, but it's good to see these dudes enjoying the game, entertaining the people, man. And so if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you can do any dance you want right now.
That's right. I'm in Philadelphia right now because I'm going to be at tonight's game between the Cavs and the Sixers. You're listening to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, how far and away are they the best team in football in your estimation?
Right now, I would say the only team that you can look at playing at the same type of level would be the New England Patriots. What we're seeing from Tom Brady and Carson Wentz, these two guys are the front runners for the MVP. Both defenses have come along, and the coaching staffs of both teams are doing amazing jobs. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are number one to me if you would do power rankings, and then the New England Patriots number two. And in between those teams and the next team, it's a huge gap. And so with the way that these two teams are finishing, I thought it was going to be Pittsburgh on a collision course with Philadelphia for all Pennsylvania Super Bowl. But right now, New England and the Philadelphia Eagles are the class of the NFL.
Well, the way you talked about Jared Goff on the show this morning, I'm shocked you didn't mention the Rams because, Lord, when you were praising him. Clearly the antithesis of what he was last year. Having said all of that, how much of a gap is there in your mind between Carson Wentz in Philadelphia and Jared Goff with the Los Angeles Rams, considering the fact that they were basically 1-2?
Based off of some words you used this morning in ascending, Jared Goff to me is much like his team is. He's ascending. He's becoming one of these quarterbacks we can count on week in and week out, but he is not there yet. Carson Wentz is there. The Philadelphia Eagles are there. Carson Wentz will continue to get better, but he has already arrived. Carson Wentz is now in the top tier to me of quarterbacks where we used to only talk about the Aaron Rodgers and the Tom Bradys and the Peyton Mannings when he was playing. And now he doesn't have the resume that those guys have. But if we're going to rank quarterbacks on who I would have now and who I would take going forward, there aren't many I would take over Carson Wentz. And so he's already in that category. Jared Goff still has to play his way there. He has to wipe off some of that ugly and some of that stain that carries over from Jeff Fisher, but he also has to gain our trust week in and week out.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I'm looking in the AFC right now. I was not impressed with how the Steelers won this game last night.
Me neither.
I just look at them and I look at Big Ben Roethlisberger and all the requisite weapons that they have. We should be speaking about them more glowingly than we are despite their record. What's missing?
Well, you made the Joe Hayden point. Cody Sensabaugh had a bad play last night on a double move, something that a lot of corners have an issue with. A lot of corners will bite on that play. I think my bigger issue is you take a guy like Brett Hundley, a guy who I've repeatedly been on the record saying is not ready to run the Green Bay Packers offense, is not ready to be a starting quarterback in this league, and you let him have a night like he had last night. You give up the big plays that they gave up to the Green Bay Packers. You allow the Green Bay Packers to march down the field, get a fourth down conversion in your red zone, and then score. You can't win like that. That team can't go to Foxborough in January and beat the Tom Brady-led New England Patriots. I'm not sure they can even get there playing that way. Coach Tomlin mentioned the chunk plays in his post-game press conference, and no matter what type of weapons you have on offense, if you can't stop people defensively, if you start to look like the defense that I would hear every Monday when you and I would talk last year, if you look like that defense, you aren't a championship caliber team. And we've seen that from this team the last few weeks. They have to shore themselves up on that side of the football.
You know, it's interesting. We had a conversation right here just a few minutes ago. One of the callers called in because they thought I needed to be drug tested, essentially, because I was talking about sitting Alex Smith down. I don't give a damn if it's for a quarter or a half or something to send a message. I don't care about his completion percentage numbers or what have you at this particular juncture. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. They've lost 3 in a row. There's just something that's missing from Alex Smith, and I think you light a fire under him, while at the same time seeing what you got in a rookie who obviously you thought enough of to take before Deshaun Watson in the draft, for crying out loud. I say why not take the chance? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a little too early. Your team is still in the hunt. If Alex Smith was your choice for this year, if that was your plan to go with him, I think you stick with him. You let a veteran ride his way through this tough patch. You're still leading the AFC West. Now, you take 2 more losses, the offense continues to be a main reason why you lose those games, then you have to look to make a change because you have to look to get a spark offensively. Right now, you let Alex Smith be the veteran he is, be the leader he is. You coach it a little better. You change some of the gimmicky things you're doing on offense if you're Andy Reid, and you give Alex Smith a chance to play his way out of this because he's earned it and because it was your plan. And as long as you're still in the fight, you let Alex Smith quarterback your team.
What's going on, Ryan Clark, with Michael Crabtree without his helmet, swinging on Aqib Talib with his helmet on? I mean, that doesn't seem like that's the most intelligent thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, egos get involved and testosterone gets up, and you continue to make bad decisions. I will say this: Michael Crabtree driving Talib into the ground on a block, I have no issue with. I really don't. Talib pulls his chain as he's going down, but driving him into the ground, that's a physical football play. You throw the 15-yard flag because it's after the whistle, and you continue to play. It's all the stuff afterwards that's a black eye for me. Obviously, it's not a black eye because neither of these guys can fight. Neither of these guys connected. It was one of the worst fights I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. But horrible.
But something should have been done to me, Stephen A., last year. When Aqib Talib pulls Crabtree's chain last year, and Crabtree does what he's supposed to. He walks over to the sideline. He doesn't really say anything. He doesn't really retaliate, and nothing happens to Talib. if you're John Elway, if you're Kubiak at the time, you don't come out and denounce that type of behavior. The NFL doesn't make a statement that these things will not be tolerated. So now as it festers and continues to build, we think it's okay. They think that that's the way that they should conduct themselves because no one condemned this behavior when they should have last year. So now it festers and it boils over, and we get two guys behaving immaturely. And listen, I fight. I fought in football. I fought away from the game. So I get that these things happen, but there's a way that you have to conduct yourself with professionalism that two guys like these veterans know they have to do. And if they can't do it themselves, then both the NFL and their teams need to reprimand them in a way where they understand it will not be accepted.
You're a supporter of both being suspended?
I am. And I hate ever saying that guys should be their money should be affected because I want everybody to get rich. But you have to send a message if you're the NFL that this won't be tolerated because that wasn't football, Stephen A. We've watched football. What they were doing was not football. And when it gets outside the game, you need to nip it in the bud now before it boils over and becomes even more than what it already has.
Before I let you get on out of here, Ryan Clark, a couple of more questions. Jets, they lost a tough one to the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm still surprised at how tough they've looked this year, despite being bereft of a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes. I mean, I love the job that Todd Bowles and his staff of coaches have done. You go out and you get McCown, who isn't a world beater by any means. He's a journeyman, but he's added professionalism to the position. They play extremely hard defensively, and they don't have the guys. They don't have the people. But this is a team you see compete every week, a team that, still is numerically involved in the wild card chase. And I think you have to be proud of the way they performed when, for all intents and purposes, we in the media were talking about this team tanking, about this team getting rid of all talent that could be effective, and now they're actually competing each and every week at not necessarily a high level, but at an NFL level, which many thought they wouldn't even be able to do.
I got to tell you, last question, I didn't expect much. I thought the AFC West would be all about Kansas City and Oakland. I didn't expect Oakland to be this disappointing this year, but more importantly, I certainly did not expect the Los Angeles Chargers to be relevant. What the hell has happened with them? Why are they suddenly winning football games?
This is a team who has now found ways to win the close games, who has two edge rushers that totally get after it in Ingram and Bosa. And we all know how competitive Phillip Rivers is, but it's the emergence of a healthy Keenan Allen that has provided a punch and a downfield attack and aspect to this offense that we hadn't seen in a long time. And if you had an opportunity and they said, you know what, this week you have to play an AFC West team, the one team that you would say, you know what, I'll play any of the other three, but I don't want that one, it's the Los Angeles Chargers. And even though they can't fill the StubHub Center, even though they lost some games early, were 0-4, the last team to get to the playoffs after going 0-4 were the Chargers, and I think the LA Chargers have an opportunity to do the exact same thing this year.
Got 5 games left. They go up, they play at home. They host the Browns at home, the Redskins at home, Kansas City at home. They're on the road at Kansas City, on the road with the New York Jets. And then they're back at home against Oakland. 3 of their last 5 games are at home. I think they got a shot to win the AFC West.
I think this team does. I think this team does, especially with the way the other teams in the AFC West are playing. It's going to be fun to watch them down the stretch. They're the most confident team playing right now in the AFC West as well.
Well, let me close by saying if you want to call me an old fuddy-duddy, I get to call you a young whippersnapper. Wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac, bro. Similac. You go ahead and have a good day, youngster.
You too, my boy.
Take it easy.
Talking to you.
Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Give Stephen A. a piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
Just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here? I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's get back to the phones at 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Chris. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Just wanted to tell you how much I appreciated you, my friend.
Thank you.
I wanted to speak on this Greg Schiano situation down here in Tennessee. Yep. I might have a biased opinion because I'm an Ohio State fan because I grew up back and forth between Ohio and here.
Okay.
But I feel very disgusted and disappointed in the people that live around me right now with the way that this thing was handled and how disrespectful it all got. Mm-hmm. It was completely uncalled for, dragging that man's name through the mud for no apparent reason other than that they didn't want him to be their coach.
Well, listen, I think that you're putting it too kindly. It was beyond disrespectful. Because you didn't want this man to be your coach, you have attached his name to child molestation. I mean, I don't know how much lower you can go as a human being. Those people are so freaking despicable on so many levels. It's hard to put into words how awful they are. That you would want this man to have his name associated with such a thing just because you don't want him to be your head coach. I mean, really? It's just
absolutely agree with you.
It's just no excuse for it, man. It really, really isn't.
It was shameful. I mean, I feel awful just living here, and I'm 45 minutes away from Knoxville. I can't stand it right now.
And let's put things in its proper perspective. It's not like, you don't want him to be your coach. Okay, you just got rid of Butch Jones, right? Just got rid of Butch Jones. So let's put things in its proper perspective, okay? Brady Hoke is already 0-2 as your coach. Butch Jones was 4-6. Last year and the last year before that, he was 9-4. The year before that, he was 7-6. He was 5-7 in his first year in Tennessee in 2013. You had Derek Dooley, who was there, who didn't do much. Jim Chaney coached one game for you. He won that game. Lane Kiffin came for 1 year. He went 7-6. Fulmer, okay, he was there for you for many years. He had an 11-2 season in 2001. We know that. 13-0, winners of the Fiesta Bowl in 1998. That's really the last time that Tennessee has really, really been relevant in the national championship picture.
Exactly.
So it's like, really? You don't want Schiano as your coach? Well, okay, what? Because you thought you was going to get Gruden? You were never going to get John Gruden. Just because his wife was a cheerleader there don't mean he want to come there to coach your team. And all I'm saying is that you don't do this to any human being, man. You don't do this to any human being. There's nothing that should associate him with child molestation. Nothing.
I honestly feel like they should abandon their football program and not have one after the way that this was handled.
I don't blame you for feeling that way. I wouldn't go that far, but I don't blame you for feeling that way. Because as far as I'm concerned, pox on all their houses. They disgust me, all of those folks. They should be ashamed of themselves. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Wendell in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, greetings, Stephen A. I was going to run down the good, bad, ugly, and downright repulsive. The good, man, that catch by Antonio Brown, man. Man, that was elite play.
You know what? That was like straight out of Dancing with the Stars, bro. Considering how considering how he made sure to get both feet down with that catch to set up the winning field goal by the Steelers last night. That was, he looked like he was on Dancing with the Stars.
That's beautiful. That's why you watch football. The two players, I don't even want to mention their names, the Broncos and the Raiders, man. That's a carryover effect, man. Those guys, they made all the NFL look bad in that moment. That was just downright deplorable.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, man, because I didn't even bring this up, but since you alluded to it, I hope you don't mind me going there. This is the same league that have these players kneeling. Now, one has nothing to do with it with the other on its face. But when you consider how you have everyone from the president to a bunch of his constituents, to others who have wrongfully turned a protest against civil rights, a protest against racial inequality and beyond into a protest against the national anthem. That's what they've turned it into. They've hijacked the narrative, which is what I've stated on many occasions. You and I both know they're looking for every little thing to point to how appreciative these players should be for their opportunity and how dare them do X, Y, and Z. So you would think that guys would know that while competing, you're on your P's and Q's image-wise over every little thing because stuff is going to get blown out of proportion and judged differently. And you out there looking like a bunch of hooligans acting up like that.
Yeah, that character was really just deplorable. Now, the ugly, man, big ups to Ohio State. Man, they should have wore their traditional uniforms, man. I mean,
you talk about the uniform. You talk about the uniform. To me, you know what was ugly? Alabama's performance against Auburn. Auburn waxed that tail, bro. They gave it to Alabama, and I got to tell you right now, because of it, my top four has changed. I got Oklahoma as the number one team in the nation. I got Oklahoma. I got Clemson. I got Auburn at number 3. They're now in the top 4. And I got Wisconsin at number 4. With Alabama and Ohio State right on the outside looking in. That's how I view the national championship picture right now.
Yeah, Wisconsin going to tap dance with Michigan. And the downright repulsive, Stephen A., the caller talked about Schiano. That gymnastic coach up there in Michigan is downright repulsive. Should be. I don't understand why there was much more of an uproar behind what that man did to those female gymnastic teams and stuff. That was deplorable too.
I'll talk about that after the break, man. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 866-SAY-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. We'll get back to your phone calls and touch on Derrick Rose and his departure from the Cleveland Cavaliers in just a minute. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! It's reading from a story on CNN. Ex-USA gymnastics doctor apologizes, pleads guilty to criminal sexual misconduct. Larry Nassar, Nassar, the former acclaimed USA gymnastics team doctor, pleaded guilty Wednesday to 7 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and admitted in a Michigan court to using his position to sexually abuse underage girls. This is last Wednesday. This is a story from last Wednesday. It says 3 of the charges applied to victims under the age of 13, and 3 applied to victims 13 to 15 years old. Other charges were dismissed or reduced as part of a plea agreement. All 125 victims who reported assaults to Michigan State Police will be allowed to give victim impact statements at Nassar's sentencing in January, according to the plea deal. Nassar made a short statement apologizing and saying he was hopeful the community could move forward. Listen to this statement, y'all. I mean, this dude sexually abused little girls. 3 under age of 13, 3 between ages 13 to 15. 1 girl he gave a sleeping pill to because she was having trouble sleeping, and she woke up. Next thing you know, it was on a plane. He gave her the pills. Next thing you know, she woke up in his hotel room receiving quote-unquote treatment. Knowing all of this, this is his statement, y'all. Quote, "For all those involved, I'm so horribly sorry that this was like a match that turned into a forest fire out of control. I have no animosity toward anyone. Really." He actually said that. "I have no animosity towards anyone. I just want healing. We need to move forward in a sense of growth and healing, and I pray for that." Oh, talk about somebody you should throw into the jails. You see, it's this kind of stuff. It's unbelievable. There's no remorse in that statement. None. 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 Like what the judge said, Judge Rosemary Aquilina. She said Nassar violated the trust of his parents, and she praised the victims for coming forward. Quote, "You used that position of trust that you had in the most vile way to abuse children. I agree that now is a time of healing, but it may take a lifetime of healing while you spend your lifetime behind bars thinking about what you did and taking away their childhood." So essentially what we have is another situation of child molestation, child abuse. Now, can I ask y'all a simple question? Rhetorically. Does Greg Schiano deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence as these people? Because that's what a bunch of no good you-know-whats did. by plastering posters all over the place like a mob and sitting up there talking about how they didn't want him to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Football Volunteers because he hid child molestation. He's emphatically, categorically denied it. There's never been any proof of such a thing. And for them to be allowed to do that to him, I've lost faith in us, y'all. If folks can get away with this, I really have lost faith in us as a society. Jeff, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, you're live on air. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? This is my first time calling.
Go ahead,
hey,
man.
I just want you to know I appreciate your show, and I am a diehard Philly fan. I'm from Philly all the way from Schoolie D, Joe Palmieri, all the way to now. I'm scared of the Eagles. And the only reason I say that is because I get animosity. But I feel better when I see the run game, and I see the clock ticking, and they got 3 people that can run the ball. We haven't had that since Ricky Waters or Wilbert Montgomery. What do you think they need to work on?
Who?
The Eagles.
Why would they need to work on anything? They're the best.
I know
They're
when
the best team.
come,
they're the best team in football. They're the best team in football. Are you listening? Are you listening?
Yeah.
Did you not hear me speak? I said they don't need to work on anything. All they need to do is be themselves. Right now, you're rolling. Anything can happen on any given Sunday. We all know that. But if you ask what did they do differently, nothing. You don't change things up when you're winning. You're forcing somebody to recognize that they need to figure out a way to beat you rather than you reacting to them. You got one of the best young quarterbacks in football in Carson Wentz. You got a guy who's anxious to prove that those rumors about him being a malcontent and a cancer in the locker room in Miami ain't going to be true in Philadelphia. You've got Nelson Aguilar, who no longer has alligator arms. You got Alshon Jeffrey playing for a new contract, and you're finally getting production from the tight end spot in Ertz and Brent Selleck. You don't need to do anything. And this defense is rife with rough riders that got speed and love to hit. You don't need to do anything. And Darby's back. Have a nice day. Take it easy. Mustafa, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Mustafa, you there? Okay, Mustafa's not there. Let's go to Chris in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. Long time no talk. Hope all is well with you.
I'm good.
I have a question regarding Oklahoma City. I know I brought this up to you before, but just let me know if I'm overreacting. Obviously, they lost to Dallas by 16 on Saturday night, but I just see bad habits from this team, Stephen A. Obviously, I know they beat Golden State a few nights before or whatnot, but
They beat Golden State Wednesday, then turned around and lost back-to-back games to Detroit and then Dallas.
Right, along with a bad loss to Sacramento earlier before all of that. But my question to you, Stephen A., is obviously I asked you about Billy Donovan a few weeks ago, and you gave me everything as far as him getting to conference finals and giving him a chance and all that stuff. But I just look at it with the personalities they have, with the Westbrook, George, and Anthony, and the fact that Billy Donovan is not a proven coach. Does Sam Presti, is he under the impression that maybe that we need, because remember, they're in win now mode, because Paul George may not stay. So is Sam Presti under the impression that maybe they need to find somebody that fits these personalities? Like
Not yet. I love how y'all answer questions and ask questions and then answer them without letting me answer on my own show. But listen up. The bottom line is that it's too early. It's still too early. I don't like what I'm seeing. There's no question about it. They've lost 4 of their last 5. This is not good to see. I get it. And Sam Presti may very well have to make a change. But I think you give this about another month. I think with Billy Donovan, he's the guy that you brought in to replace Scott Brooks. You got to give him some kind of a chance, okay? And then see what happens. I think as long as you make the change by January, if you feel the need to do so, I think you'll be fine. I don't think you need to do anything right now, but it is closing in. I'd give it about another month, though.
About another month. Okay.
About another month.
Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said about another month. I give it about another month.
Oh. Right. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking as well. But I know they're a win now, most Stephen A. I just don't know that if they don't get it, because it's not just Golden State they have to worry about. Obviously, you have San Antonio, Houston, who's playing well. So Sam Presti knows with the fact that there's potential they can't keep the other superstar, then he has to put himself in a position to win now and look for the future as well to keep the player that he has now, and George and Anthony for the future.
No question.
So,
I completely agree.
We'll see.
I completely agree. They're 8-11. I don't like the direction that they're going in right now, but time will tell. Give them a little chance, and let's see what happens. 866-SAY-ESPN. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! You know, one of the things that everybody's monitoring right now in the NBA is the departure of Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, former Rookie of the Year, former league MVP, actually, in the NBA. Had 4 knee surgeries ever since that time. Has been a shell of himself. Still a good player. Averaged better than 18 a game for the Knicks last year, averaging better than 14 a game in the few games he's played with the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. Lateral movement isn't the same. Can't defend the pick and roll the way he once could. We know all of this. But when you listen to LeBron James and Dwayne Wade talk about him, and how they just want him to be okay and peace of mind, all that stuff is of utmost importance. Then it gives you some perspective and some insight on how serious this all could be. We hear things, those of us who cover the NBA, and the reality of the situation is that everything ain't any of our business. Some things are as it pertains to your performance on the basketball court, but other things are of a personal nature, and it's not any of our business. Not to say that we know. We hear, but that doesn't mean we know. I just think it's important that what I would tell you is that Derrick Rose is going through a lot emotionally, to the point where you have people that are proclaiming he's extremely depressed. The reasons why vary. We don't know what they are. But it's gotten to a point where I think that this guy needs to step away from the game of basketball. Get his life together. Feel better about being a human being and living his life. That's not where he's at right now. It's a real struggle for him. And all you can do is pray for him and wish him well. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in professional sports. Seems to be a really, really good person. And you just want to make sure he's okay. And that's why I so appreciated what LeBron James said. Because that's really what it comes down to. We don't know what's going on. We just know that Derrick Rose doesn't have a zest to play the game of basketball. And that he'll lose millions if he doesn't play and doesn't appear to care. Now, it's not going to be $80 million like it's been reported because of his Adidas deal and how that would come off the table and all this other stuff. I'm hearing that's not true. But it is clear that all is not right with Derrick Rose. So I really appreciate LeBron and D. Wade just emphasizing that they just want everything to be all right with him. I just think it's important to say. 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Brock. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A.? How you doing?
I'm all right. Talk to me.
All right. After watching those Steelers last night, I don't think they're the biggest threat to the Patriots. I think it's the Los Angeles Chargers. What do you think?
I'm not willing to go there yet. I like what I've seen from the Chargers. I think they've got a chance to take the West. Joey Bosa's big time. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I ain't doubting Joey Bosa no more. And Keenan Allen looked like the second coming to Jerry Rice the last 2 weeks or so. I get all of that, especially with what he did against the Cowboys this past Sunday. But still in all, something's missing. I think the Chargers are good enough to make the postseason and then go home. That's how I view them as.
I think they're just missing a kicker. If they could make some field goals, that's a different team.
Okay. You might have a point. I just don't know if you're right. But right now they're playing a lot better than they did earlier in the year, and I like to give my man Anthony Lynn some props. He's got them focused, and they're still playing hard, and that's what counts most. Let's go to Troy. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Troy?
Stephen A. Always place. Hi, Stephen A. Always
How are you?
Pleasure.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say thanks for doing what you do. I enjoy the show. I wanted to touch on Coach Schiano and what those people did to him. I kind of call that the Michael Jackson syndrome. And what I mean by that is, sometimes an accusation can be just as destructive to someone's reputation, which, the bottom line, that's all you have. But an accusation alone can be just as destructive as if it were true, and it could destroy a career and a life.
I agree with you there, but I just think Michael Jackson is the wrong analogy. Greg Schiano has denied ever saying anything or ever knowing anything. Michael Jackson he might have been a little boy, mentally and emotionally hanging out with other little boys, but there's no doubt that, in terms of him spending time with them, excessive amount of time, even sleeping in the same bed as them, these are all things that have been well documented. A matter of fact, one of the funniest moments in my career on radio is listening to the Ed Bradley, a portion of the Ed Bradley interview with the late, great Michael Jackson. And here it is, Troy, I will quote. Ed Bradley says, as we sit here today, the late, great Ed Bradley for 60 Minutes, as we sit here today, do you still think it's okay for a 45-year-old man to be sleeping in the same bed as little boys? And you know what Michael Jackson said, Troy? Of course. Not if you're a predator, not if you're a murderer, not if you're Jack the Ripper, which I am not. That is a quote from Michael Jackson. God rest his soul. Greg Schiano cannot be mentioned in the same breath because guess what? You can make accusations about Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson provided fodder for those accusations. Greg Schiano has not.
You had a point there. I didn't see it that way because I felt like they still came short of proving guilt. So, again, the accusation alone can be destructive, and I feel bad for Greg Schiano in that regard. And by contrast, you got guys like this gymnastics.
The gymnastics doctor. No, he's a doctor for the gymnastics team, Larry Nassar. He's getting ready to go to jail for many, many years because of his trifling, sick, demented self. That's what he's going to do, and he'll deserve so. But I got to run, man. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Kurt in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Kurt, go ahead.
Stephen A., I'm a Rams fan, but it's just funny to hear the media, how they crown, the Eagles already Super Bowl champions and the next generation and this and that. I mean, if you look at the record, they beat up on the Eagles. They beat up on the Giants. They beat up on Arizona. They beat up on the 49ers, the Broncos.
They beat Carolina.
I mean, none of these teams. Yeah, okay, I'll give them that.
Right.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yep.
So, they're not beating up. The big destructor of young teams is adversity. And until they turn the ball over against Chicago Bears.
You got to admit though. That's fair, but you got it. First of all, Chicago's defense is no joke. That's number one. It's their offense that's the joke. The defense is not a joke. But number two, and more importantly, you don't think that Carson Wentz is a stud?
Oh, I absolutely.
Well, if you got a stud young quarterback,
absolutely not.
Hey, listen. I'm running out of time, so I got to cut you off here. I appreciate the call. We can revisit this topic of conversation tomorrow, but be clear, Carson Wentz is a stud, and when you got a young stud at the quarterback position, that is something to be reckoned with. I got to get on out of here. I am in Philadelphia. Cavs playing the Sixers tonight. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid going against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Sixers might win tonight. Who knows? Talk to you on 22 Hours. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN